Long time ago, there was a caveman named Grok. And Grok was hammering a coconut with a stone, and he smashed his thumb. And he said, "Ah!" And language was born.
English native speakers, we almost have a more global knowledge than what most Asian people will have. Yes, Chinese is the largest language in the world by number of native speakers. However, it's only spoken in China and in Taiwan and Malaysia, Singapore, and that's it. Now, I know there's Chinese diaspora all over the world and millions, and in New York now it's almost 1 million, but my point is, as a national language, the national language of a country, it's real. I mean, China is the only significant force, and then Taiwan and Singapore, which are quite small, and in Malaysia, where it's one of 3 or 4 national languages, which is very different than several of the world's top economic or political powers speak English. It gives us a different view of the world, a different understanding of a global world, and then take into consideration that the English-speaking countries are largely, certainly the United States and Canada and Australia, are largely immigrant nations, which means my whole life I've heard people speaking English as a second language. You come to China, and maybe the vast majority of Chinese probably never once met a foreigner who spoke Chinese. So you put all these differences together, and then it's really no wonder that there's communication problems. Cultural context. Cultural context helps us to interpret what people are saying. This is the nonverbal communication. I used to be in sales, and they taught us that 80% of communication was nonverbal. I don't know 100% that that's true, but certainly a lot of it is. Example, look at this guy. Instantly, what do you know? What is his job? What's he trying to do? What's this woman's opinion of him? Do you think he closed that sale? I don't think so. When I was young, I did martial arts. Well, I've done martial arts my whole life. I still do martial arts, but when I was about, 13, 14, some friends of mine got hold of a Peking opera video. We all went to somebody's house who had a VCR player, and we watched Peking opera, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I was just blown away. I just couldn't believe the skill, the martial arts. It was just so exciting. It was just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen, and I loved it instantly. And we had one Chinese friend who was with us that did martial arts with us, and this guy walks onto the stage, and I sort of assumed he was a soldier because he had swords and whatnot, and my friend goes, "No, that's the general." I'm like, "Well, how do you know that's the general?" "Well, the way he's walking, the way he's standing, he's wearing a big hat. I don't know, whatever it was." And you could hear sort of battle noises and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I guess he's going to go to battle now." And my friend rolls his eyes. He's like, "Go to battle? He's retreating. He's been defeated." I'm like, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Because he walked onto the stage backwards." So this was a cultural context, a cultural clue that any Chinese person familiar with Peking opera would know at a glance. No words had been spoken. There was no dialogue. And he knew all that. That's the general. He's been defeated. He's retreating. Okay, and I didn't know that. And the same thing happens every day, no matter what language you're speaking. Similar cultural contexts exist in all languages. Cues and clues which native speakers pick up on instinctively, which communicate more than words. And once again, I have a penchant for salesmen, but I love this guy. He's drooling at the mouth. He's ready to make this sale. Believe it or not, someone from another culture may not pick up on that. May not. If you showed this picture to a room full of Chinese students, there's a chance they don't know that that's a salesman. Maybe for their culture, that's a doctor or an astronaut or anything.
Obviously, we expect things to be different, right? Like I remember the first time my cousin went to France on his honeymoon, right? He'd never been out of Brooklyn. Goes to France on his honeymoon. He comes back. He goes, "Oh, that place is weird. France is freaking weird." I go, "Really? What's wrong with France?" He goes, "They got different words for everything."
Currently, I'm teaching at a university in China, and the majority of my students tell me that they've had 12 years of English before they even come into my classroom. And most of these Chinese students have had 12 years of English and possess vocabulary of thousands of words. And I've tried to match my Chinese vocabulary against my students' English vocabulary, and they definitely know more words than I do. There's more functional than they are in the foreign language. It's because they just spent years memorizing vocabulary, but they don't know how to speak the language. They can't speak, and they can't read, and they can't use the language, which is very different from knowing the words. Culture is one of the most important determinants of how we communicate, understand, and learn.